crosses class lines. It affects women across the country. And I started realizing this. I was here in January 2014, I believe it was, when there were a couple of cases right back to back. The woman who was murdered by her spouse and thrown into a chopper. And then there were two more right after that. And I thought, is this common? I'm shocked. I know everyone here was shocked. I started collecting news clippings. And after 6 months of this, I had a stack. And I was so depressed, I thought, I can't do this anymore. And people talk about it when there is a headline. But that headline went away, and people stopped talking about it. Now I know it is difficult. How does every individual respond to this? And what can we do? But until we hold people in positions to a standard, and that takes all of us, that takes all of our voices. That takes people talking about the budget. There's a ministry for gender here. If this government wants to show how serious it is about empowering women and eliminating domestic violence, it needs to fund these programs. It needs to ensure that the money is there. Now, back to the Obama administration. I'm very proud of our administration. We still have a long way to go, but we've done a lot. Another thing that we've done, we've improved educational opportunities for women, and that's important. You have to start young. You have to start with young girls and boys. And to attract and retain more women in science and technology and engineering and math, the STEM as they call it, we've focused on building a pathway to high-paying, high-skilled jobs by another program called the Race to the Top. It redesigns high school so that students graduate prepared for college and career. Federal agencies have deployed their STEM workforce and partnered with private sector to increase mentorship of women in STEM. And I talk about that because I think that is another key to the gender puzzle, is this idea of mentoring. For all the women out here, all the successful women who have made it past these barriers, as I said before, we need to reach down and pull up those other women, the young women who are struggling, the women who need a boost, who need a mentor, who need advice. We can all do that. And I see all the women in this room, successful women who know how to work within the framework of Mauritius. You can do this, and I challenge you to do that. Pull up another woman, pull up a young girl. All right, I'm going to skip some of this. I want to talk about some of the things that we're doing here as the United States and in other countries, because promoting gender equality is a platform for this government and for our engagement overseas. We believe that women's rights don't stop at our borders. We have a national security strategy that actually recognizes that countries are more peaceful and prosperous when women are accorded full and equal rights and opportunity. Evidence shows around the world that improvements in women's employment, health, and education are correlated with greater economic growth and more successful outcomes, including here in Mauritius. So through a variety of initiatives, we're working here with the government, with valuable civil society partners like Women in Networking, to enable women's economic and political leadership. In September 2012, former Secretary of State and potentially first female U.S. President, Hillary Clinton, she launched something called the Equal Futures Partnership. Now this is an innovative multilateral initiative currently chaired by the United States, in which member countries commit to taking action, including legal, regulatory, and policy reforms, to ensure that women fully participate in public life at local, regional, national levels, and that they lead and benefit from inclusive economic growth. Since 2012, the partnership has grown to 27 countries, and it also includes the European Union. Each country participating in this partnership works closely with civil society and other stakeholders to identify areas for action, and then they set goals as commitments within the partnership. Many establish coordinating bodies to develop and oversee the implementation of equal futures commitments. Mauritius is not yet a member. Could it be? I throw this out here for anyone who's interested in following up. We can look at how we can establish that. It's going to depend on more than you. It depends on your leaders and the commitments that guide them. But we need to hold our leaders responsible. We need to hold them responsible to the things that their people need. Here, as in so many economies, women face financial, legal, and discriminatory barriers that inhibit them from accessing and participating in a lot of training, digital literacy, health services, life skills development opportunities. I think this is particularly acute here in the more rural communities, economically disadvantaged communities, where multiple factors hold women back. It's not just training opportunities. It's looking at the entirety of a woman's life and how can she be supported in her family, in her obligations, so that she can participate in these other things. Skipping by more numbers, I think you've heard enough about the United States. I think one of the final things that I want to leave you with is one of the most important things I think that each and every one of us can do as women, as mothers, as grandmothers, as aunts, as the leaders of the family. I think when we can start treating our boys and our girls equally, I think that is a key to future progress. And it's subtle. It can be as subtle as ensuring that your son is helping out with the housework when your daughter is. It can be as subtle as when your daughter says, "Mom, I want to be an engineer," saying, "Well, of course you can," as opposed to, "Well, that's a boy's field." I've heard the president talk several times, and she talks about how when she went to talk to a professor, she wanted to do chemistry. They said, "Why would you want to do that? That's a girl's field." But we do that too. Women perpetuate that. And I would argue we need to stop that. We need to raise our boys and our girls equally. And I've heard it said that, well, that's culture. That's our culture. That's how it is. One of my favorite talks that I've ever heard on women's issues is by a Nigerian woman whose name is Chimamanda Adichie. She's an author and a speaker. And she said that culture doesn't make people. People make culture. And as Anu said earlier, if that's our culture and we're not happy with it, we need to change it. This speaker, Ms. Adichie, she says, 100 years ago in Nigeria, she said how she has two twin nieces who are 15 years old. She says 100 years ago in Nigeria, they would have been killed at birth because twins were considered bad luck. That culture has changed. Culture changes. We make it. So I put that out there to you. Let's not let what we consider historically to be our culture hold us back. This is also a conversation that we need to have with men. This is not a woman's only conversation. We need allies. We need men to be on the same page with us. And so I salute those who are, and I think in some respects, there's a limited amount we can do with some people. But this is where educating the younger generations is so important, and that is where individually we all have a role. So I want to thank Wynn and all of you here, because I think Wynn represents that collective role that you can all play. Because you need to have a collective role to hold leaders accountable, to propose to them the things that need to be done. But I'm also speaking to everyone as an individual, because we each have a role in ensuring that the future looks a little bit different than today, and that our daughters have the same opportunities and can be as successful as our sons. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you, and I welcome any discussion or questions. Thank you.
Well, it's, I have to say, a very hard act to follow, so Thank you very much, Susan, for this wonderful speech. I would, of course, start off by thanking Women in Networking for organising such a wonderful event, the Association Mauricienne Femmes Chefs d'Entreprise for their involvement, Adamas for their sponsorship. But yes, coming back to our guest speaker, it was a great pleasure for me to come to such an event and to not be the person who has to make the speech tonight. I very much enjoyed listening to Susan share with us a very thought-provoking but also personal insight in terms of the work that you've been doing here in Mauritius during your posting, the work that the US government has been involved in, so many projects, so many initiatives here in Mauritius and the region, and of course it will be perhaps quite soon that Susan will actually be heading back after her posting in Mauritius back to Washington. I think we're all going to be very sad about that. We're certainly going to miss her here in the diplomatic community, as we indeed miss her ambassador Villarosa, who also recently departed. But if I may say, I'm excited as well as sad about the thought of Susan going back to Washington. Why am I excited? First of all, she's mentioned in passing, of course, there's an election happening very soon in Washington, and if we had a crystal ball, we might know what might happen with that. But the fact that there is a woman running for election in the United States is very exciting. We're all going to be watching that with interest, and Susan will be back there. Perhaps she can send us some moment-by-moment bulletins. But I'm also excited about the fact that Susan, with her insight, her wisdom, her understanding of these gender issues, the importance of things like education, the importance of ensuring that our boys and our girls are given equal opportunities. She is a mum, above perhaps her role as a diplomat. She is a mum, and she is raising 2 boys. And she's taking those boys back to the United States, where I'm confident that she's going to raise them in a new environment, yes, different to the paradise that is Mauritius, but she's going to be raising them in Washington, and she's going to be raising 2 new US citizens who, I think, with a mum like Susan, and I also have the privilege of knowing their dad, Justin, I think that they're going to be great citizens who know the importance of equality and who have a mum who teaches them that boys and girls are equal, that they should be treated equally, they should have equal opportunities. And I think that that's something that Susan obviously brings to her work, her professional role here with the US Embassy, but it's also something that she's creating a future for with her own family. So it's a great pleasure for me to give the vote of thanks to our very special guest speaker, and I'm sure you'll all join with me in thanking her for this evening's talk. Thank you.
We have everyone here to have these discussions and this sharing, but you know, this is in the business world, and I think it's an American saying, in fact, Susan may or may not confirm it, you know, there's a phrase that goes, put your money where your mouth is, okay? So, Adamas, being that we have some American roots, we're a big believer in that. So we're very happy to announce that tonight we'll be giving 50,000 rupees to the gender awareness training that Women is doing around the island. Hopefully it's not the last donation, but at least it's a start, you know, so thank you all for your support, and I believe we'll hand over the check, and I'm not really sure what else we'll have after that. I think there's some networking maybe some visiting the shop, I don't know. Thank you. And say, keep up the good work, right, you know? There we go. For you, Julia.
I just want to say thank you very much to Adamas and his team, basically Sebastian and his team at Adamas. And you mentioned earlier, let's not forget it's Mother's Day on Sunday. But ladies and gentlemen, without fathers, there would not be any mothers. So get a gift for him as well.
Parents' Day.
Okay, Parents' Day.